The loyalty email hit at 1:58 a.m. Someone redeemed romance package with my points. I'm not jealous of bodies, I'm jealous of receipts. Bodies tell the truth if you stop staging them. Receipts decide which truth earns a timestamp. At 1:58 a.m., my inbox lit with the cheerful cruelty only hospitality can perfect. Congratulations, Caleb. Your points were redeemed for the Riverlight Boutique. Romance package, late checkout included. The email wore gold foil the way apologies wear perfume. Below the confetti, the reservation name, Marco +1. The +1 was polite like a bouncer, faceless and certain. Marco had texted at 10:45. Board wants one more drink. Don't wait up. He's fluent in donor weather and stage management weather, the two forecasts that make actors think money is climate and applause is food. At 7:05, I filmed the coffee like a citizen of a small private country. Ritual is cheaper than religion and keeps better hours. I captioned it here. He reacted with the thumbs up he saves for nights that plan to rename themselves. The hotel didn't rename anything. It announced the ceremony. The apartment had the posture rooms get when they've practiced a story without you. The radiator breathed like an amateur chorus. The floorboards rehearsed being innocent. I boiled water because water doesn't audition. It turns to heat and refuses to explain itself. When the kettle sang, the sound was accurate, and that felt like relief dangerous enough to sip. I made the mistake of opening the email again, as if it might have learned better manners in the last minute. It hadn't. It offered add-ons like a cheerful accomplice, chocolate-dipped strawberries, private soak, rose petals as a pathway. I closed the laptop and put my palm on its lid like a man tamping down a tremor. At 3:06, the lock cleared its throat. Marco came in with his jacket folded over his arm and his shoes hooked by two fingers like witnesses too tired to lie. He smelled like lime and the kind of decision that thinks it can pass for weather. He kissed the air near my cheek, our administrative truce, and then saw the screen still breathing without permission on the counter. "You're up," he said, as if etiquette had mailed me a warning. "The Riverlight thinks we're celebrating," I said. "It used my points to buy you strawberries you don't like." His pupils turned into clocks, the small dilation that arrives just before he chooses a verb. He put the shoes down like low ships that had been told the harbor was a rumor. Then he set both palms on the table the way our therapist taught us when we wanted to give words somewhere to land. The gesture is either dignity or triage. "Which question?" he asked. "Why or who?" "Why?" I said, because Matt, my emergency adult, kicks me under imaginary tables when I lead with names. If I start with who, the receipt writes our minutes. Marco looked at the patch of wall where the paint keeps wanting to retire without ceremony. "Because the scene wouldn't land," he said. "Because donors clapped on the 2 and the 4 and then demanded to be forgiven with gin. Because the bar turned the volume up right when we needed to hear ourselves. Because Dev, yes, said the Riverlight's lobby smells like safety and the rooms look like they understand verbs. Because I needed to believe a bed could be neutral." "Did you kiss him?" I asked, breaking Matt's superstition like a boy with a stick and a fence. "In the elevator," he said. "Once, small and honest and wrong, he looked like a sentence that could be cut without harming the paragraph. I got out on 4, he kept writing, I came home." "I hate how sane that sounds," I said. "The sentence I keep for mercy that arrives before I can match its tone." We didn't sleep. We did something more humiliating and useful. We agreed to go to the Riverlight at noon, when cities pretend to be merciful. Daylight made the hotel's glass look like it had forgiven itself. The lobby smelled like citrus that had learned to whisper. At the desk, a clerk with actor posture and librarian eyes greeted Marco by first name. "Congratulations again," she said. Her tone wore velvet gloves. "We're here to cancel," I said, "or to see which part of the truth fits on your stationery." She produced a smile designed to survive litigation, then slid a folio across the counter as if handling a warm animal. Reservation, Marco +1. Points, CALEBB amenities, champagne, petals, soak. Special instruction, music low, no bright lights. The handwriting was careful and almost mine. Dev appeared from the lobby bar without the drama of surprise. He had a paper cup and the posture of a man prepared to pay for his verbs. He faced me first, decent as math. "I was coming to apologize," he said, "to you both and to whatever part of the hotel thinks confetti absolves verbs. He loves you." He nodded toward Marco without trying to recruit him. "I like being near that. I'm sorry our job uses the same grammar as desire." "You don't get to call it ours," I said, "because cleverness is my superstition and I tithe when I'm anxious. Rehearsal is a room, a kiss is a scene, a package is a noun. You don't get to be the verb in our kitchen." Dev lifted his hands the way a good predator does when he wants you to count your knives alone. "Then let me be the cancellation," he said. He turned to the clerk. "Void it," he added, to me. "I made a stupid thing look gentle. I won't do it twice." The clerk performed the ritual of undoing. A stamp that sounded like a door reconsidering itself. The printer's sigh, a new folio. Cancelled. Points restored. She slid it to me like a graduation without ceremony. We left the confetti. At home, I moved the kitchen chair into the middle of the floor because procedures save men when gods won't. Marco smiled like a man relieved to be caught kindly. He came around the table and paused, always that pause, his most decent habit. I met him halfway. The first kiss carried the proper weight, apology without speeches. The second put his fingers under my shirt and my hand at the back of his neck, the place he keeps for oaths and sleep. We didn't perform a ceremony, we used heat as a system. If I could map the rest without getting evicted by an algorithm that prefers virtue louder than accuracy, I would. Keep the inventory, breath that belonged to both of us, a belt resigning with grace, a wrist pinned with permission and not claim. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. The city prefers quizzes. 2 nights later, the Riverlights Social posted a carousel at 1:41 a.m. Hans saw light in the elevator mirror, 4 bodies if you counted reflections. Marco adjusting his collar, head down. Dev behind him, tie loosened. A stranger pressing a button like rumor. Me in the glass because a helpful public tagged my name. The caption said boys being brave. Comments did what comments do. I typed nothing. I put the phone face down. I moved the chair until the room remembered it wasn't a witness stand. Marco came home and handed me his phone without instructions. "Delete or archive," he said. "I don't want new grammar." "You don't need me to erase your verbs," I said. He rested his forehead against mine like a paperweight on a better draft. 3 days later, the email with fonts that have never had to apologize to a kitchen arrived. Residency, 7 days, quiet rooms, kind windows. Marco forwarded the PDF with every map attached, which is how you know a man has learned where courage keeps its receipts. "I want to go without disappearing," he wrote. "I'll send pages, not alibis. When I get back, ask me what I wrote before what I did." I taped 2 lines under the lemon magnet because props still save us when God is off shift. Addresses in the open. A good night here voice note every day. He added a third in his careful mess. If an I can't is coming, it happens where both of us are. Night 1, wind and a sentence I decided to believe. Today the table forgave me. Night 3, nothing, and my thumb became the worst teenager in the world. I opened the loyalty dashboard and stared at the ledger like prophecy was a spreadsheet. Balance restored. History, one cancellation, one shame, several breakfasts. I closed it. I moved the chair instead. At 8:12, he called with a voice that made the kettle think there might be a god. I almost kissed a window, he said. It didn't know your name. I closed the blinds. He came back with a suitcase that didn't slam and 2 pages he treated like animals. They're not good, he said. They're mine, I said, and we performed our small religion. Paper kettle, a room that knows it isn't a lobby. He slid his hands under my shirt from behind, slower than contrition, faster than nostalgia. Here, he said into the bend of my neck, which is the only word left that has never demanded witnesses. We tried boring. We failed gracefully. We tried again. Dev learned to stand at the back of the house with his arms crossed like a man paying the bill he owes himself. He clapped exactly once at the intimacy rehearsal and didn't text. For a week, my inbox minded its business. Tests return like weather, indiscriminate and intimate. At 12:09 a.m., the loyalty program sent a push, exclusive offer, sweet upgrade for the romance you deserve. Beneath it, a one-tap redeem. The button glowed like a dare. I stared until the gold remembered it was just light. I pressed and held, waited for the option that felt like a spine. Hide similar offers I chose, and the app thanked me like a saint excusing himself from a parade. At 12:58, the lock exhaled. Marco stepped in with rain in his hair and a sentence ready. He walked me to the bus, he said. He tried to be history with a polite face. I told him our nouns were tired of being scenery. Do you want to hate me now or later? I prefer now. I like the way you come back from it. I'm tired of coming back, I said. I want to stay. He nodded and deleted Dev's contact under my eyes, not as spectacle but like a man returning a key to the correct hook. He touched my jaw with 2 fingers, the intimacy director's sacrament, repurposed for domestic faith, and for once the gesture belonged exactly where it landed. We went to bed without performing an essay on forgiveness. We used our mouths the way men do who still prefer heat to cleverness. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. Weeks alter even honest bruises. The Riverlight continued sending emails to men who need occasion to rent a mirror. I filtered them into a folder named Weather. The city kept inventing rooms that wanted to pronounce us. I kept the kettle and the chair we move when words try to riot. On a Tuesday afternoon that pretended to be harmless, a padded envelope arrived with no return address. Inside, a brass key fob engraved with RIVERLIGHT 406, hole punched, twine threaded through, flattened like a confession retiring with dignity. On the card, in a careful hand I recognized from programs and notes, I don't keep souvenirs, I keep systems. I hung it on the hook by the door like a warning and a graduation both. Another test came dressed as accounting. At 12:21 a.m., my phone pinged, points adjustment, goodwill credit 2,000 PTS. The reason line read, inconvenience, social post. For a moment I saw the elevator photo again, Marco's head bowed, Dev's tie a little undone, me a ghost in the glass. My thumb decided not to have an opinion. I moved the email to Weather. When Marco got home, he said, if you want to use those points, book something that's ours. Breakfast at a hotel too earnest to be cool. Afternoon checkout. Nothing that requires dimmers or apologies. I want a room with bright lamps, I said, and nothing to explain. We invited 2 friends and the habit of normalcy to dinner on Friday. After dishes, Marco set an oven timer for 3 minutes, a micro-ritual Matt insists on. Speak until the beep, don't interrupt, answer as if time were expensive. When the timer surrendered, he stepped closer and asked, not with spectacle but with grammar, if he could touch me. I said yes. I won't draw you the rest. Algorithms prefer diagrams. Keep the simple arithmetic. 2 bodies that kept their nouns. A breath we shared because we asked. A door that finally learned the difference between greeting and granting. Morning behaved. It crossed the floor like a dog that has decided we remain worth guarding. I made coffee and set his mug where his hand lands without thinking. He came behind me and placed his palm flat over my chest in that quiet territory between heartbeat and promise. "Here," he said, less a word than a careful wait. I put my hand over his and let the day borrow our courage. By noon, the theater posted a still from the talkback, Marco mid-laugh, profile bright. Dev beside him, listening like attention is a sport. The caption thanked donors and used community with grant application sincerity. I let my eyes perform the smallest treason, measured the angle of ankle toward chair, the geometry of candor that is only sometimes innocent. I didn't show Marco. He knows that posture better than I do. He knows how to unlearn it when it matters. We booked a room with my points at a different hotel, the Pleasant, which names things like a person who believes adjectives can be modest. The clerk wore a sweater and verified nothing except that we wanted a key and a morning. The bed had sheets that didn't audition. We put our phones face down without dramatic vows. We didn't move the chair because the chair already knew its job. Later at home again, when the night tested us with a small stupidity, a DM from Dev that said simply, "That kiss was a punctuation mark, not a sentence." Marco read it aloud, then deleted it. "I prefer declarative moods," he said. He slid his mouth over mine, not as proof but as practice, and I will not give you the choreography. Keep what a room can hold. Heat as a system, consent as a compass, silence as a roof you can sleep under. Tomorrow we'll try again. Emails will dress themselves as confetti. Checkouts will pretend they're absolutions. Dev will exist where he exists, a person, not a villain. Donors will clap in the wrong places. The city will keep inventing nights that want to name us without asking. But when Marco says here, my body has stopped auditioning for suspicion. If another hour offers me a golden button promising romance on demand, or a folio that thinks it can curate our verbs, I hope I remember the handful of humiliating, useful acts that got us through this one. Put water on. Move the chair when words try to riot. Ask why before who. Hold the breath before contact and let it finish being the scene. Then wait for the lock's small throat clearing like it's the first note in a song we can still tune to. We didn't get away with anything. We stayed. We are still staying. The river light can keep its petals, the river can keep its absolutions, the lobby can keep its glass. We'll keep being the address. Or, on the nights we can't, the map that admits its misprints and still shows the way back. Past the revolving door that thinks it's a promise. Past the elevator's red dot that loves its own memory. Into a kitchen where a chair knows what it's for. A kettle keeps its 7:05 appointment, and two hands that have done worse learn again how to touch without asking the night to edit.